I'll start with a verse in Deuteronomy 33. In verse 3, the Bible says, oh, not quite there. It says, Yea, he loved the people, all his saints are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet, and every one shall receive of thy words. And I am thankful that the Lord moved me to go. I didn't really have it in mind. It's easy to stay busy in the regular day-to-day in dealing with, various things in the ministry in your own life. And so it came up pretty close to the time that we had to get the tickets in and everything, but the Lord moved me to go ahead and do it. And I'm glad I did because they're just people that are easy to love there. You know, they have soft hearts. They're pretty gentle. When they're presented with the scripture, it's very refreshing because they see the words and then they say that's true in their heart. You can see that, and so it's just such a far cry. It's so different from people in America. Saved people, lost people alike. It's just so different. And I'm very thankful to have gone. I'm thankful to see what the Lord did there. A lot of souls saved. But besides that, there are a few things that happened that make me think, and like Ian was saying, we had a really good group of people that had a lot of zeal. And one thing that really was nice to see for me was just a sustained charity among everyone, right? So just concern for each other. You don't know these people. You may not have a burden for the people around you. They may not be people that you would necessarily spend time with on the regular, but there's just this natural charity that takes over when maybe someone gets sick or someone's trying to witness. There's someone to pick up the slack in prayer. And that's another thing too among the group, just a readiness to deal with problems by prayer. When something comes up, that's the natural inclination to pray for the brethren, to pray for a witness that you see happening, to pray for the meetings beforehand. I remember in the last meeting, it's in the town square out in the public, and the tallest building in the town is the Catholic Church, towering over everything, all the businesses, all the homes and everything. And just to pray that those people would just see the message, just pierce their hearts and have that as the sole thing in their mind, and for all those things to fade in the background. And at the end of that sermon, just the whole crowd got up, and they just to receive Christ, to receive a Bible, and just to see the Lord work in those things. I'll end with one story. There was a brother on the trip. His name was Max. He doesn't have a passport, so he took a bus through the border and all the way through Mexico to Yucatan. And he met with us there, but there was one night where there was a festival in one of the local towns where we were. And we went and got some local food at a vendor. There was a family serving food. Some of the older members of the family were serving food. And then there was, the younger kids from the family in a little kiosk next to them selling bottled water, bottled drinks, whatever. And Max says to me, he says, whenever you're ready to talk to them, you let me know. Whenever you're ready to talk to those kids, you let me know. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of, catching me by surprise, but it's like, you know what? No, I need to be ready. I need to be ready to get up and go and share the gospel with them. Just like it ought to be that way in our lives, praying for the brethren, ready to pray or ready to witness. And so some of those things were lessons to me where maybe you don't see it a lot in America, but it ought to be a natural thing day to day, ready to pray, ready to witness. And so there were so many things. I couldn't count it. We'll see it in heaven, and I'm excited to see it in heaven because I'm excited to see those people again. So thank you.
Well, of course, it's difficult to get up here and say things that kind of don't sound like a cliche, but it truly was a blessing. As John mentioned, the people were so open and tender, and there was kind of just a lack of skepticism on their part that it was neat to be a part of it. In America, frankly, if somebody comes up to me on the street tries to give me something. I know I have the truth, first of all, but I'm not going to really probably be open to taking that.
Yeah.
But probably 95+% of people you'd hand a John of Romans to, they just take it, and praise the Lord for that. It was just neat to see the Lord work. We saw a lot of, I saw the power of prayer, and it's not something that, you see every day here at home, necessarily like you do on a trip like that. So that was neat. It was neat, as John mentioned, just the fellowship of the fellow people on the trip. A lot of good people, and people that when you in the beginning of the trip you look at them and you don't know them. You maybe have seen their name on a list that's coming too, but by the end of the trip, you're hugging them and you're taking selfies with them, and because you've labored with them, you've served with them, you've prayed with them, and it's been you have lifelong relationships with these people now after just 1 week. So it's a real blessing. There's, as John said, there's so many things I could talk about. It was a blessing to see. We probably saw close to 250 people saved total, some of those on the streets and some from meetings. The one thing that kind of sticks out, we did 3 meetings in 3 different cities, and the middle one was the one city that did not have a church. In fact, there was a preacher who tried to start a church there, 20, 30 years ago, and they literally ran him out of town throwing rocks at him. When we were passing out scriptures that morning of the meeting in that city, Brother Mitch, the missionary there, he said, guys, I can't overstate to you how Catholic this town is, how hard it is. He said, they do not want this. He says, if anybody gets saved at this meeting that day, if one person gets saved, he said, it'll be a miracle. And I think he was kind of trying to prepare us for a little bit of disappointment, because he said later on, I didn't think anybody was going to come to this meeting. It was just kind of a hard town, and I noticed that a little bit after he said that day when I was passing out scriptures. I had more people kind of just, kind of blow me off, and I was like, Lord, man, we need your help. This is kind of a little bit of a different city than the other 2. And then when we showed up for the meeting that night, there was a huge carnival literally right across the street from the meeting place. Talking like loud music, boom, boom, Ferris wheels, lights, and we're like, wow, this is hard. This is, I can see people maybe even wanting to come to the meeting, but then they show up and I'm like, carnival meeting? I guess I'll just go to the carnival. But sure enough, we probably only had about 50 people show up, so it's kind of a small crowd, but we really prayed, and 42 came forward and got saved. So it was a blessing to see the Lord just break through all that stuff. And there's nothing we did. But just a real blessing to see the Lord work. It's a blessing to be a part of it. And it was a great trip. I have lots of memories from a lifetime, or, I'll remember the rest of my life in the trip. As John said, just looking forward to, seeing a lot of these people in heaven. Yeah, it's a real blessing. So.
I was going to let it slide. Well, again, thank you for your prayers. It was a real busy time, and the week before, Lord really did some work as well. Went down to Texas and presented a ministry in Brother Bevan's Welder's Church, good-sized church in Corpus Christi, a very large church, Shady Acres Baptist in Houston, and have a camp meeting of probably 600 people. So that was just, really I needed that, just to get away and see 600 people in unity, and it really set the pretense, or set it up for the campaign. But it went really well. This is by far our most fruitful campaign we've done in Mexico, and it was the 9th one that the Campaigns for Christ has done. And I was looking back, so I was sitting there listening to testimonies, and I know it's been 30 or more campaigns like this with the couriers, and it never gets old. Never gets old. When you stand on the street and going down in between the median and handing out scriptures, and car windows are coming down, they're cranking down, arms are coming out of buses. It never gets old. And it's a blessing. And I'm thankful to be able to get to go back in a couple weeks here, but just some real memorable things. That one with that Catholic where that man preached that night, he got ran out of town with stones, as Nate said, and he was just in tears afterwards, just talking to him, and he was so thankful that we came, and he got to preach again in that town, and souls got saved. There's a policeman in a restaurant, and Max is he's quite a character there. He's amazing. He goes down and rides a bus, 3,000 miles across Mexico, and makes his way back out again. But he's in a restaurant, and a policeman gets saved, and as soon as he gets saved, He's waiting for takeout food. He asked him, he says, can I have some of those tracts? And he wants to take the chick tracts back to the precinct and, witness to his coworker. So I think that one was definitely genuine. The meeting that Nate was talking about too was really amazing, because here's that carnival, and this music is just bam, boom, boom, and it was terrible. And these people have to, bright lights inside this little basketball stadium. They have to get down, walk across the front, walk all the way over to the tables to come up and deal with a personal worker. There's no dim lights, there's no, and it's just thought, wow, when they get up out of the chair, the commitment's made. I remember standing behind, they had a table where people were dealt with, and an open area where the personal workers they get dealt with and pray for they get saved. Then they go up, get their name and address. Once they got their name and address, they went and got their Bible. And so it was real organized. And I'm just watching these people, I'm standing back, and some ladies crying. They're so happy they've gotten saved. And it was amazing. So we had the young man that came from Brother Reese's church. He just got saved in October. And I said, when did you get saved? And he says, October. He says, like, this last year, October? He goes, yeah. And the last day, I think it was, he's from the Ukraine. He runs into a Ukrainian girl in Mexico. He gets to lead her to the Lord. He says, I've never led somebody to the Lord in my own language. And he was so excited. He was really excited. The story in the one town was interesting in that when I went down there for the survey trip in November, he said, well, I want to go to Unmakma. He said, the pastor was trying to start a church, just died recently. But I talked to his son. His son wants to meet with us, and his son might want to take over. And we go to this church building. It was just literally growing over. It looked like you see in those movies, everything's growing over. And anyways, we had the meeting there, and that's where I think 30 or so people met this last Saturday to start a church. His son's going to take over for the pastor, but the timing was such that worked out really well. The driving was, I think it was one of the worst cities I've ever driven in my life. So I hit a few curbs, but we made it. But other than that, it was good. I really appreciate Ian driving, Nate driving, and I really appreciate their leadership down there. It was a huge help. So we have, like I said, heading down there March 1st, a different area. Looking forward to that. It'll be a little bit different. We're doing 3 smaller towns instead of one big one in the suburbs. So we might have 4 meetings down there. Just one last thing. It's interesting how this all came up. Is that Brother Niles, who we're going to work with this next time, this in March here, and we kind of talked on a campaign last summer, and we got it set up. Said, okay, we'll go down to Yucatan there and work with Brother Niles. Well, then Seth, pastor's son, of course, out west, he says, you should call Mitch Moeller, talk to him. So because of Brother Niles, who might or might not be able to be there next month, because of him, then this whole other campaign got set up. And so just amazing, Brother Niles didn't think he could go at all. And I said, brother, even if you can't go, I said, because of you, there's 200,000 scriptures sitting in Yucatan right now. And so, Lord meant it for good. So just amazing seeing the Lord's hand in all this. So that's it's a great campaign. Looking forward to Malawi this year. We have 2 more. We have a few openings in each one of those campaigns. So if you're interested, that's a real blessing if you can make it. But Mitch Moeller is a good missionary down there. He's been down there 25 years, started 9 churches, very organized. And we're looking to take the campaign's video that we have and do a Spanish voiceover. And then he can, generate some interest down there, and he knows contacts of probably 40 or 50 churches down in Yucatan and surrounding areas. So if we can get some more campaigns down there for 25, that would be a good thing. But we're gonna get working on that voiceover pretty soon, and you can be in prayer for that. That's on the radar. Another thing to be in prayer about is we're looking to. There's a potential for Peru, and might be a survey trip there this summer sometime. So be in prayer about that. There's some contacts there. And then, of course, back to Africa possibly. So we got a guy from Zimbabwe that's going to join us in April, and he's a missionary there. He was in Sierra Leone, and now he's in Zimbabwe, and so he's going to come over and join us for a whole 2 weeks and potentially do one there sometime as well. So, but thank you for your prayers. I could tell people were praying. I told the guys in prayer meeting I felt better the whole time I was in Mexico than I have any time in the last several months. So you could tell people were praying. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Amen.